Hey Naomi, how you doing? Hi Richard.
I wanted to tell you something about that wonderful video that when you saw that FDR gave all that money to the arts
Mm-hmm.
and they gave a lot of money for young men to go and do things, that did not get us out of the Depression. I hate to say what got us out of the Depression.
Well, no,
World War II.
yeah, that by itself did not get us out of
It did not get us out at all. It's a sad thing, but World War II
well,
and President Eisenhower said the military complex could be very dangerous because of the money.
mm-hmm.
So,
Well, now they're okay. Yes, World War II did come along, and we did ramp up industrialization. That that added a lot of jobs.
that was it. That's got us out of the Depression. That was it.
Well,
And FDR's program did not, it didn't. It
well,
went
it
on
was,
and on till the war.
well, it did, but it was we were in the process of recovering at that.
What I read, no. If we recovered, then we went back. And China, though, China wasn't so bad. I'm reading a book. China was the only place that didn't have such a bad depression then. Anyhow, but when you follow, you want to know something about all this politics? Follow the money.
Mhm. Yeah, well,
And a lot of boys are killed because of that. That really makes me crazy because I have two sons and a lot of grandsons, and a lot of boys are killed because of this.
uh, killed because
Look at that. Because of the money involved with the military complex.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved in that, and boys are killed because of that.
Yeah. Well, now not just boys and girls.
Boys and
Charles,
girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
knowing no harm that gets through, I have a question.
sure.
What is a good book on women's artists, history of?
That is a good question.
I've run across the great women artist.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I mean, I think you're going to find it's going to be a difficult search. There are a couple of articles on various women, but for the most part, you got to kind of go back and scour the academic papers, things like that, particularly if you're looking at periods of art like the Renaissance, which they're just really beginning to go back and document a lot of, and there were actually quite a few women artists during that period of time. But even up until the 20th century, women, and I'm not saying that it was fair or anything else, but, society kind of treated them as kind of a second class artist. And
They were in the kitchen.
well, yeah, the expectations for
Babies in kitchen.
yeah, up until about 1900, the expectations for women were that, they were going to be mothers, they weren't supposed to have careers, women didn't go through life unmarried and not bearing children. That was the thought. That wasn't reality. I mean, I'm sure that, quite a few women did go through life and never had a family or children, but, you don't hear about them because they weren't really the accepted norm.
Charles,
So, yes.
Charles, there was a book published in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
The title of it is Great Women's Artists,
Yeah.
and it goes back about 400 years.
Okay. So not quite to the Renaissance. Yeah. Okay. And do you have that now?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't read that. I haven't seen it. I know that personally, I have done a fair amount of research on trying to find women artists at a different periods, to talk about, because obviously they were there. But it's hard to get documentation about
If
them.
I get it, I'll lend it to you.
I would appreciate that, because I'd love to read it, and love to see the artists that they kind of cover. Um,
Okay.
so, but yeah, good question, and definitely something of interest, to this class, since kind of the majority of people participating are women, and I want to make them aware of and encourage them, to do art, and to encourage their grandchildren, particularly their granddaughters, to think about art as a serious career, because it's it's one of those it's one of those things that most people don't think about, and most people think well, you can't make a living as an artist, and actually the furthest thing is well, that's really the furthest thing from the truth, seeing as how art is actually one of the biggest industries on the planet. And when I talk about art, I'm not talking about just drawing and painting. That's a small fraction of the art world. The bigger part of it is the day-to-day, things that you see around you, everything you have in your house, everything you use. If it's not, directly from nature, then an artist has at some point in time, taken the time to make a decision about the size, the shape, the color, the material it's made out of, how it functions. And so, you're talking about designers and architects and, what you would call industrial engineers and folks like that. Those are all fields within the art, umbrella. Okay.
What was the question?
He was asking about women artists,
Oh,
and is there a good book on, to find out about women artists through history? And he came up with one. I guess it was published a year ago or so. And you said, what was the title of it, Richard? The History of Women Artists, or?
No, the title is Great Women Artists.
Great Women Artists. Okay.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look that one up.
It's on eBay and Amazon.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let
Well,
me
I think
make a note of
today,
it.
today women can do whatever they want to do. I mean, in today's world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a good thing. That's, we
Yes,
should,
it is.
we should all be able to make choices, about what we want to do and how we want to spend our time on this planet. Great Women Artists. And that's in 2019. Okay. Now I'll look that one up after the class. But that's when I was coming up, and very young, and even still yet till today, my father still tells me I'll never make a living as an artist.
Great encouragement.
Little,
I
yeah,
guess you're not living right now.
guess not. Though I probably made a lot more money in my life than he ever has. But it, but the point of this is, it's people's mindsets, and it's the society, that you're raised in. A lot of people kind of think, oh, if you get into a creative field, you're not going to make it. You're going to be starving all the time. And, to some degree, there is some truth to that. You're going to go through periods in your life where you're going to struggle, but let me ask you this, I mean, what career can you have and not struggle?
Hmm.
You know, at some point, and particularly in the beginning, right?
Mhm.
You know, I don't care if you're an accountant, you know, if you're an accountant, you may work for an accounting firm for 10 years and then try to go out on your own and, you know, opening a business and things like, you know, that's going to be a risk. It's going to be a struggle. There's nothing out there in life that's guaranteed or safe, right? And I think it's a matter of if you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way. You know, you're gonna work, and you're gonna kind of create, you know, your own avenue. And there's probably nothing more true about that than in the arts, regardless of what kind of, you know, aspect of art it is, whether it's music, as a writer, as a visual artist, as a engineer, as a designer. You know, I mean, you know, you're all gonna struggle to find, you know, your own voice, you know, but also once you find your own voice, to find an audience and to build that audience so that you can sustain yourself. And you know, that's, you know, that's just part, you know, part of the whole thing. So uh let's see, where are we at? Okay, we got about 15 people here, and it's really kind of about time to go. Okay. Well, actually, it's 6 after, so let's get rocking and rolling. Some of you sent in some things. Some of you sent in some comments about what it is that you know, went back and looked at, and we're going to look at those first. And if we get through them, then we're going to, you know, look at a couple of more videos that I pulled for you guys. All right, so. Let's see, do the old screen share thing. We're going to start. We're going to start with this piece. All right. All right. So Bernice, you need to tell us a little bit about this. Okay.
Well,
What about
actually, actually,
Whitney?
actually, it's my nephew's girlfriend, and
Okay.
and she's kind of thick.
Uh-huh.
So I found a picture of a thin woman, and what I did was I just made her bigger.
You just thickened her up.
And I sent it to you specifically because I was wondering if you just make somebody thicker, do you kind of distort their proportions?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as the length and things like that, I mean, you're basically adding, you know, adding mass and weight to them. And that's okay. I mean, that's,
One thing, did you get the one I sent you around one today? Because I showed you.
yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I have those too. This one came on as, I don't know why it wouldn't open up with the other group
Oh,
of these, so
Mm.
that's why I'm starting with this one.
okay.
Then we'll
Well,
go.
I think I sent that one on Friday, and I sent the other two on Monday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So now let me ask you this, because and I've seen the others, and you have, but nobody else has. Are the ones that you sent me today? Are they like built?
They're the ones I was using as my reference.
Oh, as your reference. Okay.
As my reference, yes.
So this is your piece.
That's my piece. Mhm.
Okay, that you're doing. Okay. And then the other one that you sent is the reference, the inspiration for it. Okay. All right. I'm glad that I understand now, you know, what it is that I'm looking at. Okay. So let's talk about this one. Okay. So this is Whitney. Okay. Which I guess, you know, she's the
Girlfriend of my nephew.
fiance of your nephew.
Right.
Okay. And then you actually started with a reference from, you know, another woman, and you just, you know, kind of made this into her. Okay.
I tried, yeah.
Oh, Okay. I think you did better than try. I think you did.
Oh, really? Okay. Mhm.
Well, no, I mean, in looking, and we'll see those in a minute, in looking at the reference photo you sent of her, you got a woman that looks, uh, at least her facial features,
Okay.
look similar to, the photo you sent. Okay.
Okay.
You could say, okay, yeah, that could be the same woman. All right. But I guess my question is, okay, so this is a nude figure. Okay.
Mhm.
It is simplified, kind of graphically, portrayed. And I guess the question is, okay, why did you want to do something like this? What was your, why were you inspired to do this?
Well, two things. Well, because it was his birthday,
Hmm.
and the second thing is, I guess I was looking at the artist that did the drink Halloween stuff, and she was saying usually when you send younger people something, they say, "Oh, grandma's gonna send us a flower." So I thought, let me send something that she said, "Well, grandma sent me this,"
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, you just something to get their attention, and yeah,
Exactly.
I could see that. I could see
Uh,
that before. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the piece as, just a piece of artwork. Okay.
okay.
And how you approached it, and, what you've done. Okay. So, basically this is a very lineal piece of artwork, right? Even though you're using different color, there's not really a lot of shapes in there,
Mhm.
like solid masses or shapes.
I
There's
was
a lot of,
trying to show movement.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you have a series of lines, even though they're in different colors, right?
Mhm.
And if you squint your eye down, right, and look at the value structure of this piece, right, the more dominant is the black against the yellow, right?
Right.
Okay. And in comparison, when you, as you're squinting down, you're looking, when you see the blue against the yellow, right, it's kind of the next level down. It seems
Oh,
to
okay.
almost sit further back, doesn't it? The black
Mhm.
comes forward, the blue moves backward,
Mhm.
and then the pink moves even further backward, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So it's like, those colors, the blue and the pink, up
Now,
against the
believe it or
yellow.
not, that's dark. That's a dark purple. It's not black.
Oh, the
The
outline here?
the outline is a purple.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm.
Well, it in the photograph, it comes off looking kind of black. But
Right.
it's a very dark value.
Mhm.
Okay. So the actual value structure of it, the figure moves forward. The other colors, even though you can see them sort of behind her, tend to move backward, right?
Mhm.
And so, in that regard, the way you've broken up and used your color, works really well, to define the figure and get it to move forward. As far as movement goes, the paint strokes and things all seem to kind of move at mainly a diagonal, so it gives you sort of a strong directional feel to the piece,
Mhm.
and so I think you were successful in getting it to, to feel like there's motion going on here. She doesn't feel like a static figure,
Right.
and that's good. That's
Okay.
what you want to do. Now, why? I think if it were me, okay,
Okay.
the along the edge to the left and at the bottom, you've put down a kind of a dark border,
Mhm.
right, to kind of break up the space. Um, and I guess my question is, whether you really need that or not.
Oh yeah. I think I don't too.
Yeah. See, I
Mhm.
think the piece all by itself, if the background just ran to the edge,
Mhm.
would be strong enough, and to me, it adds a lot of weight over to the left side and the bottom that you don't need.
Okay.
And without that, see if you just take your hand and cover those areas up, then the figure all by itself, I think has enough weight and movement in it.
Would have been enough without the outline.
Right. Yeah, those borders or those edges. So you could actually get rid of them. Now I know in the original piece, and let's stop this and go look at those. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the original piece.
Right.
Now this was your inspiration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the difference is, they use some calligraphy, right? Writing, as part of the, the whole motif there. And you eliminated that. So really, it's almost like in this piece, the figure is almost secondary to the words.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And in your piece, the dominant thing is the figure, right? Along with that,
I do see how much heavier the lines are in the writing.
Mm-hmm. And then they use that border, to incorporate, some kind of like repetitive graphic element in there. And personally, yeah, I kind of like your piece better.
Yay! Yeah, except for the borders.
Well, yeah, I mean, but those are easy to take care of. You could easily take some yellow paint and break those up. They don't have to totally go away. But as far as using, this as an inspiration to then go back in and create another piece, I think you did really well with that. And in fact, I like the way that you used color better than in here. Because when I squint down, that blue begins to kind of compete with the darker outline.
I just use more of the pink because she likes hot pink. So that's just how I happen to use the pink.
Okay. Well, I think that worked out better than this did. This piece to me is very flat. Okay. And it suggests that there's movement, though it seems like there's a lot of stuff just kind of moving around a lot of different directions. Yours seems to have a definite direction, and so I think you did better than they did, actually.
Yay!
Yay! And then there's the reference that you use for the face on the figure.
Did I make her face too long? Cause you say I tend to not do not do proportions right.
Yeah. Not so much.
Not so much. Okay.
No, I think you're good. And I mean, it's not a portrait anyway. But it's kind of based on her. And overall, no, I think you got the scale, of, the proportions between the features, fairly close to what you see, in the photo. Okay. And yeah, I think you did a good job with that.
Yay, me.
Yeah, you did good. Okay. Now,
no, that's not me.
That's Wanda, actually, isn't it?
Oh, Wanda. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see her. Yeah.
Yeah, is Wanda here? If she is, she's quiet.
Let me go to my.
Yeah, I don't see.
I'm here.
There she is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for you. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you've got a blurry screen as well. Okay.
There
you
we go.
Okay.
Sun.
Now we can see you as well. Okay. So tell us about your bird, Wanda.
Well, I saw a bird outside and I liked his colors, but he didn't stay there long enough for me to take a picture. So I sent this to you. Oh my God, last
Oh.
year maybe
Forever.
months ago. Well, not last year, probably
No,
in
not
March,
Mhm.
April, something like that. I sent it. He didn't have any color on him at all,
Okay.
so I decided to color him, give him some personality.
All right.
Hmm.
And now, in looking at the features of the bird, it reminds me of a cardinal, because it's
Yes.
crest on the back of the head, or it could be a
Mhm.
blue jay. Okay.
Yeah, he
But
got together with a cardinal.
yeah, it's kind of a hybrid between the two.
Yes, yes.
But so this is kind of a fictitious, made up bird. Okay?
Yes. Hmm.
And that's okay. You're being creative. You can create.
fanciful.
Yeah, you can create your own birds, and mix colors and make them as exotic as you want, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question though.
Okay.
You have him sitting on a perch of some sort,
Hmm.
but what's holding up the perch?
Well, actually, my picture was just to be of the bird. I didn't have an actual picture of him. I just wanted to show,
Mhm.
just illustrate him like that.
Right, an idea, but he's on something, right?
He's on a branch.
Right. And so if my suggestion to you, okay, and this is again only a suggestion,
Okay.
now you can fade the branch off,
Mhm.
right, and have it kind of just disappear.
Okay.
But I would do something to indicate that the branch keeps going,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and so that it then becomes more of a vignette. Do you know what a vignette is?
No, I don't.
A vignette is where you take a painting, and a lot of times you'll see it done in landscapes mainly, where you have a scene and then it just sort of fades off on each side,
Oh,
top
okay.
and bottom, and just kind of floats out there in the middle of the frame, right? That's called a vignette.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of wildlife artists will use that technique
Mhm.
to sort of show or suggest the environment that the animal is in, right? But again, it kind of lets the viewer kind of fill in, the background and all of that.
Oh,
And so, that's one of the things that you could do is, if you continue this branch, behind him,
mhm.
and then as it got out here, it just began to fade off until it disappeared. And then the same thing
Right.
here. Then it would say, okay, he's on a branch of a tree or something,
Mhm.
and it keeps going, but we're just going to focus on the bird.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
that branch I have there to the left. If I had had that at the center of the picture with him on it,
Mhm.
it could have just ended at the leaves and
Right.
ended at there.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And even if that branch is there, see, you can still come in here and you can extend that branch on back and continue it in that direction to the left.
Mhm.
And at least, when you look at it, you go, okay, so those branches are attached to a tree or something that's over there to the left-hand side. So,
Okay, I see.
right now, it just looks like the branch is sort of levitating out there.
Yes, yes, it
Right.
does. Yes, okay.
Fanciful birds, that fanciful branch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did
Yeah,
you get my other picture?
Yeah, I think I've got another
Oh, okay. Okay.
as well. Okay. But because I knew it was you and it's in W,
Oh,
you get
okay.
all the way down at the bottom of the list. Okay.
Thank you for showing it.
All right. But yeah, let's Betty Bates, are you here?
Yes.
Okay. So you sent this in. You said
Oh,
that
that's pretty.
this was your
Yes.
first
is
painting
pretty.
after
I got
kind of
the frame does so much for it.
Yeah.
The
ladies. Okay. Okay, so this was your first painting after a very long time of being away from art. Okay.
Right.
All right. And then you so you painted this, and now this is part of your challenge. You're going to go back and look at it and try to figure out what you would do differently. So can you tell everybody, what you know, what you would do mainly differently between what you've done here and if you maybe did something like this now, what would you
Yeah,
change?
well, I hadn't picked up a paintbrush for like 45 years. So I actually did my first class that I took at Benson. And so just getting back into painting. So I was fairly happy. I mean, I was kind of surprised actually that it came out as well as it did. But now I think I would do a lot more with the values. The values are too much the same, like the leaves and everything in the foreground and the tree behind it are too much the same. And actually in the painting, which you can't see in the photograph as well, the flowers do have a buildup and a lot more texture on them, which I think brings it forward. I would change that. I know I could do a lot better job with the water. And I see a little perspective issue too with the grass or whatever that goes on the left side of the barn there. So, I mean, there are things like that I would change.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you mentioned value. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then after that you said that, yeah, there needed to be something, you know, more difference between those areas. And value could be one of those. Okay. But there are actually 5 types of contrast that we've talked about, you know, in painting. And you've got a couple of them working there for you. And then some of them are not working as well. And like you said, the values overall, you know, you could have pushed a little further. Now, if you squint your eye down, the flowers move forward the most. And the thing that's working there for you is the size relationship, you know, because they are larger and the leaves themselves are larger, they appear to be closer to you. So the scale or proportion of them is working. The contrast, you know, again, if you squint your eye down, you have a very strong light green against a very strong darker green. So again, there's more contrast in value there. And again, that helps move that forward. So that's working. Right? Now, what you could have done, you know, you don't have a problem here. You know, where you begin to struggle a little bit is really back in this area. Okay, you've got
Right.
you've got a fair amount of contrast in the mill itself. You have a fair amount of contrast here, but the contrast here and the foreground are pretty similar.
Right.
Okay? So I guess my question is, other than changing the value contrast, what else could you do to
I would,
move
yeah,
this back?
I think that back tree needs to be toned down a little, maybe with a wash or something. I could use maybe a little more color in it, like introduce a little reds or, you know, like a Indian red or something like that, that makes it look a little different.
Mm-hmm. You could, yeah, you could change the actual color family of it or something that would separate it away from, you know, say the flowers and things. Um, I guess my suggestion would be you can have the value contrast that you have here, but the color, you know, if you look at the colors, this yellow green seems to occur up here in the foreground and in the grass as well, right?
Right.
But if you took it and you added the red to the green just a little bit to begin to mute the color down,
Right.
gray it back a little bit, you know, that would help move that back in space a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
And then from there, once you've grayed that down, you could have grayed this down even more, probably, and got it to sit further back as well. Now, between these two areas, you know, this sits back. This does what you want it to do. Once you adjust this, though, you may have to push this a little bit further.
Mhm.
Okay. So you know, your ideas, you know, and your observations are good, you know, and there's always different ways of approaching that. But, you know, at least you're aware, you know, of the fact, okay, yeah, I could make some changes to it. I could play with the contrast, you know, and maybe improve this.
Yeah, I have learned something in the last 4 years.
Yes, you have. Yeah, you've learned actually quite a bit. And, you know, I guess my question to you is, you know, when you sit down and you look at this painting and then you compare it to some of the things that you've done, say, within the last year, okay? You know, I guess what I would hope is that you can definitely see a difference,
Yes.
you know, in your ability to handle color, value, even manipulate the paint itself,
Right.
you know, to create, you know, those effects and illusions that you want.
Mhm.
Actually, we don't see you. You have well, I guess you've got it as a Christmas card now. You know, I remember that painting that you did. That was pretty close to the end of last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and I think, you know, your use of color and the way you controlled the intensity and the contrast of those colors and things, you know, worked a lot more successfully. So
Mhm.
you know a lot more about, you know, just managing color systems and things than you did. So, but yeah, that was a good pick, you know, to go back and get something, you know, that you just went back into painting. Because this, you know, in comparison to, you know, what you're doing now, you know, looks, you know, pretty basic.
Mhm.
And then, you know, where you're at now, you can certainly, you know, manage composition and values and things, you know, a lot better. So now, I guess my question is, you know, because you like realism, you know,
Yeah.
and that, you know, and we've had that discussion before, you know, as far as, you know, painting abstract paintings, things like that. Would you? I guess my question is, and I think you do it in your work now, whether totally consciously or unconsciously. You know, would you say that you make uh, a lot your choices maybe a little bit differently? You know, in ways of, you know, simplifying areas. You know,
Yeah.
so that they move backward for you now.
Yeah, I do. And just the way I start them with laying in the dark colors first and more building colors. I mean, I know, you know, instead of picking an area and developing that and then moving on to something else in isolation of each other,
Mhm.
definitely the whole procedure is different now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear. Okay. All right. Well, that was a good pick. You know, I like that.
Can I
Um,
ask a question, please?
sure. Mhm.
I understand you said that the background tree color should be, I mean, they're gray now, and the tree that's in front of the house needs to be grayed down too, or dulled too,
Well,
more
okay.
than what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And or changed in some way. You could change the temperature of it, you know, by slightly shifting the color. Uh, the the issue is that the color and the contrast that she has in this are very similar to the color and contrast in the plant that's close to us with the flowers. Okay, and if this is further away, that can't really happen. Okay, they're not going to be the same. So something, you know, we want to push this back some way. And so you have 5 different types of contrast. So you can either change the value structure of it so that it's not, you know, not as big of a value jump, you know, within that area. you could change the intensity of the mixtures of colors there. And all of those tend to be pretty strong and pretty intense, which is why it's still coming forward slightly. Which is what we were talking about, is just mute them slightly so that it begins to sit back a little bit further. And anytime you push this back, the effect is it's going to pull this forward, right? But as you push this back, it's also, because it's sitting in front of the mill and in front of these trees, it's going to push all the rest of this back as well. So giving you more depth in the painting overall.
What about the grass, the lawn part? What would you do with that? Leave it as it is?
No, I would, again, with this, I would kind of mute all those colors slightly. Okay, that doesn't mean take all the intensity out of them. That just means, knock them back a little bit so they're not nearly as intense as the colors up in here, right? And then, as I was saying to Betty, if you adjusted those, you may have to go back and gray that down even a little bit more than she's got it. Even though it sits back there right now, once you gray that down, or depending on how far back you take it, you might have to push that a little bit further back as well.
What about the flowers? Would they remain the same?
Well, I think the color and the contrast in the flowers are fine. Now, if, again, my suggestion, would be, use those 5 types of contrast, right? So you've got value, okay, and I think the value and the intensity part in this works fine the way it is. What she could change from there is she could change, and temperature. The temperature change is good here as well. So again, those are all fairly high contrast, pushing all of that forward. The one thing I would say that she could do here to make a difference is she could go back in and clean up and sharpen some of those edges. And again, that would pull that forward. If all the sharper edges were here and all of this paint got softened down a little bit, again, giving you more depth. So I guess that would be kind of my suggestion, for if you were to redo this, is, do this a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter, sharper edges in here, take your color back a little bit here, and again, keep it just a little bit softer. Even the mill itself, even though I know, what she has going on here is she's got almost like 2 focal points, right? The flowers in the front and then the mill itself. And so I would make a decision. Do I want the focal point to be the mill, or do I want the focal point to really be the flowers? And whichever one I want it to be more dominant, I would keep the edges sharper there, and then I would soften down the edges on the one that I wanted to be less dominant. My choice, since, the painting tends to be, the focal point tends to be here, is that I would keep the edges sharper here, and then I would soften some of this down, and just give a suggestion of the mill rather than put a lot of detail into it. And again, that would move that whole middle ground back a little bit. So you see, there's lots of things you could do, and just make, slight little changes to it, and you can get more depth, and distance and form out of the painting than, she accomplished at this point. Okay.
Okay, good, thank you.
Eloise, what are your thoughts? Are you muted?
Unmute yourself, Eloise.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I had the space bar down. I thought I was unmuted. I think it's a beautiful picture. I didn't realize it needed a lot of changes.
No, we're not talking about a lot of changes. We're talking about if we, okay, with where she is today, with what she knows, you know, what could she do different? You know, yeah. You know, the question isn't whether we're going to go back and change this, but if, let's say that she was faced with a similar situation, a similar painting, right? You know, how could she go about, you know, making it better than the painting that she made at this point 4 years ago, right? So, you know, it's the point of the exercise is to try to make you aware of what you know now versus what you do then. Okay, and it's
I
like,
ask a lot of questions because I have a couple of landscapes I need to do, and I just needed to know.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it all goes back, you know, to again, and everything always goes back to, since we're talking about painting, you have 5 types of contrast. You know, you only got 5. You know, that's it.
You name them again.
Okay, so you got value, right, which is the difference, you know, how light or how dark something is. You have intensity of the color, how pure and bright the color is versus how muted the color is, right? You have temperature, right, which is, you know, warm and cool contrast. You know, is the color warmer or cooler than the colors around it? Okay. And warmer colors tend to move forward generally. Cooler colors tend to move backward, right? Okay. And then you have what we call your, okay, value, intensity, temperature, hard and soft edges, okay? You know, the softer things are, the more they tend to move backward, right? The, you know, sharper the edges, the more they tend to move forward, okay? And then the 5th type of contrast, which I'm struggling with right now, let's see. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I haven't talked about this in so long. What is it?
That rustic frame really complements the picture too.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it does. Mhm.
Same thing I was saying earlier. Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Now you've got me befuddled here.
Complementary, maybe?
No, not so much. Again, you know, that's a color intensity, you know, and temperature. What is the 5th? God, we have to go back and, you know, think about that one a little bit. All right. Anyway, we'll come up with it. There's one more. Hard and soft edges, value, intensity, and temperature.
You?
Oh, hue. There we go. Yeah, the color family.
Look
Right.
at this.
Yeah, the actual color family. Right. Is it a red? Is it a green? Is it a blue? Right. And obviously, you know, if it sits in a whole totally different color family, that's going to contrast, you know, the colors that are next to it. All right. Thank you for that. I was going to lose my mind thinking about that. All right. Anybody got anything else to say about this? We're all quiet. Okay. All right. Bob sent in a couple of pieces. Let me see if I can make this bigger. And Bob, are you here?
I'm here.
You feeling okay?
Yeah, they said I did good.
Okay.
So it's a matter of letting everything heal up.
Okay. Yeah. And what? It's going to be what, about 2 or 3 weeks before you go back and do the other eye?
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, the other eye gets done.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well,
And I'm sorry I didn't label these things properly, but I had a struggle to try to change the name, so I apologize for that.
that's not a problem. You know, as you can see, we got it done. So, so this looks like it looks like a salmon,
No, actually it's a trout.
a trout. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Is-
my
I
son
thought it was
and
yellow pike.
my son and grandson are fisher persons,
Mhm.
and so I did individual Christmas cards a couple of years ago,
Okay.
and this was one of them that I did.
Okay. All right.
Is it going upstream?
Could be.
Yeah, it could
Looks
be.
like it's out of the water a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking we're in the water with it.
Yeah, we're in the water, I think. Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, you know, looking at the shape of the head and stuff, you know, it could be like a steelhead, which is
Could be, yes. Yeah.
which is a sea running trout. Okay. Because when you look at brook trout and things like that, they tend to have more kind of rounded faces. Yeah. So that's why I kind of thought this was a salmon, because it had more of that profile. But yeah, it could be like a steelhead, you know, something like that.
Looks like a yellow pike too.
Yeah. I think pike is being longer and narrower to me. I don't know. You know, I've never, you know, done a lot of fishing up in the area of the country where there are a lot of pike, you know. Okay. So is this one of the ones that you wanted to do for the challenge, or?
No, this was some old watercolors I did a few years ago. No, I've picked out the one I'm going to do for a challenge. It was a drawing of my 1900s movie star, which I think I did a decent job on.
Okay.
And so I'm taking the techniques of water soluble graphite,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to intensify because the original one came out very soft. Everything was real soft on her.
Okay.
And basically, I'm trying to give it a little more punch, I guess.
Okay.
for
Now,
lack of a better
are you doing that on the same drawing, or are you doing a?
No, I'm doing a new drawing.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I'd like to be able to see, you know, the original, and then if you're going to go back and redo that, you know, compare them.
No, yeah, I'll compare my reference drawing or reference picture with the two when I get a little bit further down the road.
Okay. All right. You got more fish. Now these look like, now these look more like trout to me.
Yeah, I think one's a cutthroat and the other's a brown trout.
Okay. And then you've got, you're getting Festive here.
Yes. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. 'Tis the
I
season.
like that too.
Yeah. Okay. And then how big are these?
5x7. They're
Yeah.
Christmas card size.
Okay. Yeah, that's one. All right. Yeah, I really, you know, I like the subject, but I like the frame that you put it in.
I didn't. My daughter-in-law did.
All right. Okay. Well, she, you know, she picked the right frame for this.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever
it's
seen a
very
frame quite
nice.
like that. Yeah, it's a beautiful frame. Yeah, the
It
tree
is.
branches, you know. Whoop. It really works really nice.
Yeah, that's
I
beautiful.
think that's my bird's brother.
That's your bird brother? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was, yeah, they're cousins.
Yeah, they're cousins. Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got this guy, which
Yeah.
a little hard to see. But he's a penguin?
A penguin it's ink.
Okay. All right. And I guess you've got glass or something over it because
Yeah, I think so. I couldn't get a straight on. I had given these things to them and I went back over to their house the next year and I finally took pictures of them. So I didn't get them initially.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. Okay. So do we have Claudia Lang Pitts here? Did she make it back?
Yes, I'm here.
Yay, there she is.
I'm here.
Okay. So I remember this, we were all hanging out down by the river, okay?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Painting our
That
model.
was a class.
Yeah, this was a painting from life class. We went
Oh,
down to the Chattahoochee River. We took a model with us,
Mhm.
and she was sitting there on the rock, and Claudia was painting the model, but she was painting everybody painting the model. So,
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Me
Okay.
too.
so is this part of your challenge, or
Yeah, I'm not quite, I never was pleased, but I never did really finish it. It
Mhm.
has too many things still left undone. The values are not quite right, and I didn't do uh, the softness in the background is soft, but it's not, didn't blend it very well, and the coloring could have been a bit different, better.
Okay.
So, I'm not quite, I just not pleased with it. Now, they were sitting in little chairs though. They were actually had little chairs.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's Debbie at the, in the red chair at the top. And so they look more like stick figures than they do human beings, I think.
No, they look great.
well, they're somewhat
Well,
like,
thank you, my dear.
yeah, they're somewhat like characters,
Yeah.
And I've certainly seen you paint more figures since then, and so you get a better sense of form and volume now than
Yeah.
you did back then. But there's some really nice things about the painting, and you were talking, and if we kind of talk about or think back to Betty's painting, what I was talking about as far as having the colors more muted toward the background
Mhm.
and more intense to the foreground, this is a good example of that. And even though you didn't soften all your edges,
Mhm.
to the background,
Mhm.
still the colors are muted enough that, you get some depth and distance in the upper part of the picture
Mhm.
up in here. All of that moves back, really kind of nicely. It feels pretty soft. As you move forward, it begins to move forward, and the most contrast in value you have is really right in this area.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
And because these darks are so strong up against, the clothing and her skin tones,
Mhm.
that pops her forward and lets even like this figure and the figure back here sit back further a little bit. So, you're getting some good depth in there. And about the only thing I would say, well, I guess my question is, what would you do differently now?
Well, I would make the figures look a little bit less stick figures and look like they were actually human beings, like they had some bone structure underneath,
Mm-hmm.
by using a little bit more different kind of shadow and shading on them.
Okay.
And the same thing would be for the boxes they're in, that that even though they should be softened as they go, but it still look like it's the same color all the way, and they're not quite that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be a little bit different there.
Okay.
And I think I should make up my mind is I think I was struggling with that in the beginning with this tree, make it look more natural, or not, and so it's not really competing with her, but it's really in front of her in a sense. But there's not enough differentiating as to where the light is coming from on with that tree and everything. So because there's some trees around there, so I have to really get that squared away better. And even like a little where the light and shadow is on the people there, even though there were trees around, there was still a little light coming through in different areas.
Right. Yeah. It's what we call dappled light.
Mhm.
you know, where it's coming through the leaves and things. And
Yeah.
I remember that day being down by there. That was actually a really fun day.
Yeah, it was
Um,
nice. Mhm.
and yeah, it was it was a really difficult lighting situation to handle.
Mhm.
The
And we had,
challenge there, pardon?
and we had a problem with our model was getting eaten up by mosquitoes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She must have loved that.
They wanted to carry her away. But as I remember, you know, they wanted to carry most of you guys away too. So
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was yeah. You know, it's one of those fun things about getting used to working in the great outdoors. You know, you can't control everything.
No, you
And as I remember, it was pretty warm that day.
yeah. Mhm.
But you know, the thing I was going to talk about was you had an interesting lighting situation there because we were up, you know, we're right at the riverbank,
Mhm.
and there were trees growing along the side of the river, and underneath all those trees, it was pretty shady.
Mhm.
And as you got away from the river, it opened up, and there was kind of an open field, and you got a lot of light, you know, back here in the background, and everything was, you know, fully lit, you know, kind of midday sun,
Mhm. Yes.
and everything up under the trees was in shadow.
Mhm. That's right.
And so, you know, when I squint my eye down, right, and I'm looking at the values, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking about like the whites in the canvas, and you know, her clothing, things like that. The values in here could have been, you know, a little bit darker overall because all of that was in shadow. None of it was in full light, and that would have actually
Lots of it.
set up the contrast, you know, more the way that we actually experienced it at that point in time.
Yeah, I think maybe the more of a, the what I think the light came more when with the canvases, and a little bit lower than that, it could have been a little bit more darker. Just could have been a transitional shading on the figures,
Yeah.
except for the model. Mhm. she
But
was-
again, you know,
Mhm.
playing with stuff like that, you
Mhm.
can divide up your canvas, right, into light and shadow areas, you know, pretty effectively by
Yeah.
you know, just thinking about the range of value,
Mhm.
you know, because if those figures are generally in shadow, then all of those values are going to be slightly darker
Okay.
than you got them, and then
Yes.
that's going to make everything in the background look even lighter. Again, you know, the contrast between the two. But yeah, that was a difficult, you know, that was a challenging painting, to say the least. And then you sent in another one.
Excuse me, I wanted to comment on it a little bit. I think the people look so natural. The lady, the model looks like she's so relaxed. The lady in the red chair looks like she's leaning forward because she's studying her.
That's
And the
right.
one, the
Mhm.
other one looks like she's attentive to everything too. They look like they're so relaxed and natural.
And they were. They were.
Yeah, we had a happy crowd out there that day. They
Yeah,
were
it was
they were
great.
all happy to be outside and, you know, playing outdoors.
Yeah.
So and they were also happy that they didn't have to paint the landscape.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, you know, they signed up for a class to go outside and paint, you know, and I would say half of them, you know, spent their time grumbling and complaining because they had to paint the landscape, and it was like, you know, well, you know, we're not good at this, but you know, you don't get better at something unless you challenge yourself and you do it, and each of them got out there, and I would say most of the people in that class, you know, who were out there that day have become really good, competent painters and doing just about anything that they set their mind to now. So, you know, experiences like that are always beneficial, um, even though you have to put up with the bugs and the heat and everything else. So, here's, you picked another one, and this is actually the same model.
Oh.
And she was actually, you know, indoors. I think this is the first time that we actually had painted her.
Yeah, that was earlier than the landscape, though. Much
Right.
earlier. This was one of the first kind of models,
Right.
real models. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So
Man, she was wearing that dress.
I love the dress, but
Yeah.
I feel so bad that I just couldn't do her justice because it was also pretty.
Well, yeah, I think you did a pretty good job on her.
Yeah, because you can tell there's lace on there.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, this dress, I actually own this dress. I had her wear it because I bought a piece of furniture. It was a old armoire, and inside the armoire there were a couple of dresses hanging.
Mhm.
That somebody had left in there. This was one of those dresses. So, and it's probably, I've, depending on who you ask, I've asked some people who are pretty familiar with clothing and things, and they think it comes from probably the 20s and the 30s. And then actually it was the model herself who knows a lot about clothing. She thought it was kind of a knockoff from those 20s and 30s dresses that was done like in the 70s or something like that.
Mhm.
But it's I like that dress. It's a pretty dress, and it's a real challenge painting it because it's all these layers of this lacy fabric that lays over the skin. So you actually see like the arm, some of the skin coming through the lace up here on the arm and things.
And the one that's in the mirror, you can see the lace a little bit better even.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that was the other, they loved me, for, setting up things like this. 'Cause I was through,
Yes. Yes.
interesting stuff in there. Like, not only did you have to paint the model, you had to paint the reflection, right? Or, interesting surfaces or, the lighting situations and things like that.
Challenges.
That's right. I had to get them to think, and work at it a little bit. So, those were always fun. But, so I guess, what would you do differently about this painting now?
Well, I think the body parts for one thing. I don't think that didn't do a good job of turning form on those arms, and that hand is just ghastly. I think that I start off with the wrong portion. I think from her shoulder to her elbow, I think that was not long enough, and then from her elbow to her fingertips, I think that is so much longer. So I think it's a little out of proportion. But once I got her sitting there, I was going to have to make a decision either to bring that arm down and the seating part down, where I have her elbow resting, and that would be lower in order to make it, she wouldn't look so bad. So you can look on her right arm, you can see the one near the mirror where it's much lower than the other one, but still looks like that arm on that side is much longer. So the arms are just not right. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you gotta, well, like,
that's the one thing.
Yeah, on the arm, it would be her left arm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that seems fairly proportional to her body.
But the other one.
Though this seems maybe a little bit thicker than it needs to be.
That's right. Yeah.
But on this side, you had the challenge of, you had what we call some foreshortening going on.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because what happened from the shoulder to the elbow, the
Mhm.
elbow was resting on the arm of this chair, but it wasn't going straight down. It was actually moving forward, and that made it look shorter.
That's right.
But it's like, how do you tell somebody that arm's moving forward rather than just straight up and down?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way you painted it, as far as the angle,
Mm-hmm.
you've got it going vertically.
Yeah,
Right.
I get it. Yeah. I have her whole body is just straight. I mean, she's not relaxed at all.
Yeah, but if there was like a little more angle, let's say that the shoulder started here and then it came out to maybe here, so the elbow angled out a little bit,
Uh-huh.
then bent,
Mm-hmm.
then you might get the idea, oh, okay, that's a little bit foreshortened and it's coming toward me. The other thing is too, right here, where the forearm and the upper arm come together, you've got kind of a hard angled line here. And if you would have made that a curve right in there, again, that would have told you that we're pushing that arm back and we're pulling the forearm forward. And it's just a little subtle thing, but it does make a difference.
I guess what happened is like the first 5 minutes of, as you said, I got wrong. And that was how that form was positioned in that chair before I started painting her in the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and just looking at how the body was moving. So I still get those things wrong though, but that one has been eating at me for years, and I just let her sit,
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of thinking back, that painting has got to be at least 8 or 9 years old.
No, not that old.
No?
No. In 8 or 9 years, I wasn't even about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that, 4 or 5. Most.
I thought it was further back.
How long did the model
I haven't been painting that long, Charles.
Okay.
how long did the model sit for this?
She came back, what, 3 weeks?
What?
Oh, okay. Okay.
What?
Yeah, I think she came back for 3 weeks, and the class was about 2 hours, or was it a 3-hour class?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. But she would sit for about 20 to 25 minutes at a time, and then she'd take a break, and then she'd come back and take the same pose. But we did it over several weeks.
Okay.
Because the goal was to get everybody in the class to paint her from life rather than just working from photos.
And that's oil, right? That's not acrylic.
That's oil, yes.
That's oil paint. Yeah. So like I said, I threw all kinds of things at them. You had to learn how to paint with oil. You had to learn how to work with a live model who was only going to be there for 25 minutes at a time. Then she'd come sit back down, and we'd have to try to get her back as close as we could, right? And continue your painting, and over kind of an extended period of time, with reflections and fabric and the background behind her and everything else. And yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. So.
I only thing I feel justified in is that when they had these artists draw a picture of Justice O'Connor, and they had like 20 different artists, and everyone looked different, and some of them didn't look much better than ours.
Right.
And they had this big fantastic showing of the artwork, I always feel intimidated when I have when there's a beautiful model or a striking dress or something like that. You feel that you have to do better and better and to do it justice. And that dress and that model was that way for me. So so she's there to remind me that I could do better.
All right. Yeah, and you've done some really nice figurative paintings, particularly of your family over the years. So
hopefully we can get back to that kind of stuff.
Hopefully, yeah. One of these days, soon.
One of these days.
Yeah, one of these days. Anybody got any more questions about this or comments? Anything? Anybody got anything to say before we move on?
Is your opportunity to
you guys are so quiet.
Enlighten me.
Yeah. Don't be shy. Come on.
Yeah.
Speak up.
We're quiet because we thought that this was for the artists to tell you what that this is their time to talk about critiquing their own work.
Oh, well.
Somewhat, but it's also.
I see some things I didn't see.
Right. Yeah. It's also the opportunity for you guys to look at things and kind of like share your ideas. Okay.
Her hands. What about? Can you hear me?
Yeah, they're horrible.
You can.
Okay. Yeah, her hands.
Uh-huh.
I always have a problem doing her hands,
Mhm.
doing the hands.
Right.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers showing.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And you kind of get a little bit of the thumb, you know,
Yeah.
here at the top of the
Right
hand,
up.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
but it's down behind the fingers, you know,
Uh-huh.
the other side. So,
Okay.
but what's your question about the hand?
Her nails. It's her finger.
They're great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great, but yeah, this finger right here, are her fingers the right size? The small finger,
Mm-hmm.
The hand is all wrong.
and then the next finger is a little longer,
Mm-hmm.
and then this finger, is it supposed to be longer than these 2 fingers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's the
Because when I do my
big
hand,
thumb. Yeah, the center finger is the usually, not always, but usually the longest finger on the hand.
Mhm.
okay.
So let's see, where is it at? There it is. Okay, can everybody see the cursor
Uh-huh.
as I'm moving around?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this finger is the longest finger. And
Oh,
then
it is long. I can see it better now, yeah.
this one's going to be a little bit shorter on this side. This one's going to be a little bit shorter than that. And then this is going to be the shortest of all of them.
Okay.
Or it's going to appear to be the shortest, okay? Because
Oh,
in reality, if you measure the length of your fingers, right, from your knuckle to the end of your finger, you'll find that they're all really pretty close to the same length,
Oh, okay.
okay? The difference is that, you know, the base of your hand
yeah.
isn't a rectangle. See, it's an angle, right? It's got a shape to it. And the knuckle that's furthest forward is that center finger. See? And the reason it's that shape is so that you can bend your hand around something. See?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you got to know a little bit about anatomy, you know, with that. But what would have helped here, okay, when you come down to hand, is if you simplified that hand into what we call planes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
What? Call what?
Planes.
Planes, Planes,
Okay.
planes, right?
About
Which
3 planes.
planes just means like surfaces, flat
Yeah.
surfaces,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So basically you've got 4
Mhm.
separate planes
Mhm.
in a hand,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You've got the base of the hand, you know, which is this area from the wrist to the knuckles, right? That's one.
Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
And then you've got a plane from the knuckle to the first joint of the finger.
Yes.
That's the second plane.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got from that, you know, first knuckle down to the second knuckle, right?
Right.
That's the third plane.
Mm-hmm.
And from that second knuckle to the fingertip, which includes the fingernail,
Mm-hmm.
that's the fourth, right?
Okay.
Now, interestingly enough, you know, and this isn't always, but in most cases, okay, all of those planes are going to move in unison together, right?
Okay.
And so if you change, you know, if the hand is anything but just totally flat out, right? If it's just relaxed and there's even a little bit of bend in the finger, each angle on those planes are going to be different, which means that the color and value on each one is going to be slightly different.
Wow. Okay.
See? And so, and that can give you the idea of the hand, you know, being, you know, having some form to it, okay? And that the fingers are slightly bent. So you can't make the color the same here as you do down here. You've got to change those values as it goes around, you know, the form of the finger. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
People think art is simple.
Uh-huh.
Art is complicated.
Oh, it can be. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, maybe on Wednesday, maybe I'll try to paint a hand and try to do a couple of simplified, versions of the hand to show you what I'm talking about, okay?
Okay, and I'll practice on it. Okay.
Yeah, hands are difficult. They really are.
What is the proportion from the wrist to the knuckles as it relates to the fingers?
Okay, say that again, please.
The wrist to the knuckles,
Uh-huh.
and then the
The
fingers. Is there some proportion that you can use for that?
Yeah, usually from like the wrist to the first knuckle is about the same length as from the first knuckle to the end of the finger.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, generally, okay? Now, you have exceptions to that, okay? Some people have much longer fingers and a shorter base. Some people have a much longer base and shorter fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It's an individual thing. All of the proportions, we don't come in a standard, package. There are those quote unquote ideal proportions, right? That, a lot of artists kind of learn. But, basically when you get into, particularly things like portraiture, you have to make observations about that particular individual and what their individual proportions are. Okay? And even, and even if you know that the distance from the wrist to the first knuckle is equal to the length of the finger, the question is, what are those fingers doing? Are they laying flat out so that you can actually see that? Or are they slightly bent, which means that those fingers are going to look shorter than, the top plane of the hand, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, depending on what's going on there, it could radically change the look of it, all right? Okay. Anybody else got any questions? Okay. All right. So then we're going to go to this. Somebody sent this in, but I have no clue as to who sent it. It was from one of those mysterious email addresses that I did not recognize. Anybody claim this? I know what it's from.
If it's very good, then I did it.
Oh, you did it if it's very good. Okay. Yeah. Well, this is the girl with the pearl earring, and they.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, they sent two versions. They sent this, and then I don't know, but I'm guessing that they probably came back and reworked or did another drawing of this, and they darkened the background to create more contrast between the face and all, which actually helped. When you look at this, you kind of lose her head and her face.
Right.
And because, and really the only thing that really pops out at you is this blue hairband because of the value difference between, it and everything else. Yeah, Bernice?
I see the lips pop out.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. But then here, because the value is darker in the background, see the whole head stands out. Okay, and it's just change in value. That's it. Now, yeah, they had a, kind of a texture and things going on back here. But mainly it's the value that makes that work.
Right.
Is contrast there. Have we got Gene Goldstein in the house? Gene?
I'm here.
There you are. Okay, so tell us about this painting.
This is one of the rest care people here that works here, and I just thought she had an interesting face, and so I tried a portrait.
Mm-hmm.
So that was all.
Okay. How long ago did you do this?
About 3-4 months, 6 months maybe.
Oh, okay. So this is fairly recent then.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's got a nice feel to it. I mean, I think you've kind of captured a little bit about, who she is. It's got this kind of soft feel to it. that I like quite a bit. Now, this is acrylic.
No, this is watercolor.
Oh, this is watercolor.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Okay.
It's nice.
Yeah, you did
It's
You know.
pretty much got a lot of layers on it.
yeah, I would say so, because yeah, it looks a little bit more like acrylic or oil. You
Yeah.
know.
But I kept trying to make corrections on it. It was very difficult on watercolor paper.
Okay. Yeah. But you know, you've got okay, I want everybody to look at this and squint their eye down, all right, as I'm talking about it. Because what I want to point out to you is if you look at the contrast and the values, right? This area of the face right in here seems to be catching the most light overall. And then as you move down the face, it gets gradually darker, right? Till you get to the jawline. And you did a really nice job on keeping that jawline soft and darkening the value enough to get it to turn under,
Right.
right? And have some form in there. And then the whole neck overall is darker than the values up here on the face, just slightly, okay? But you see, that pushes that neck back and under and lets, you know, the head and the planes of the face move forward. And so that works really, really nicely, Gene. You did a good job, you know, on that.
I'm not much of a portrait painter. That's been my least favorite thing to paint, actually.
Yeah. But if you look at this, you know, you made it work really well, okay?
That's
The- Yeah, you've got this eye, the cheekbone, you know, and the forehead right here moving forward. And then again, just like she has from the top to the bottom, the same thing happens from the side that's closest to us back to the edge of the face. See, the value darkens over here. And if you squint your eye down, that nose, you know, the bridge of the nose, from there in the direction to the right, everything is lighter and has more contrast. Everything going to the left has got less contrast and overall darker in value. So it pushes this back and it brings all this forward again. And so again, you know, controlling the depth, you know, and giving the illusion of form and roundness, you know, to the head, you've done a very nice job on that, Gene. So pat yourself on the back for that one. You got a lot of credit there.
We'll do it.
Jean, she looks like she's a real person.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Really does.
She did a good job. You did a very good job.
Looks
Nice
like she's a
picture.
real person.
Very nice portrait.
Yeah, I think you handled it really, really well. Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so now you've got more explanations to give, Gene.
Okay.
Because now you've got, well, okay. There we go. We got clouds.
Right. That
Okay.
could be like an abstract, though, you know?
Uh-huh. Well, and it is. It's somewhat
Yeah, I thought
abstract.
it was interesting.
But at the same time, you know, I mean, you look at that, and those are pretty convincing clouds. You know, you've got a nice range of value, interesting shapes. You know, the composition, you know, is really nice on it, and you know, kind of implies movement. There's a lot to like here, and you've got a lot of color. You know, in your clouds. You know, you didn't leave all of this just plain white.
Yeah.
And because you knocked the value down on this, it really makes these edges kind of glow. You know, with
Looks
that.
like the nose of an airplane sticking out of the cloud.
You think there's a nose of an airplane sticking out of the cloud? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. But, oh, you mean right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little sharp area. Yeah,
Shadow
right
or-
there.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a airplane back behind that cloud or not, but
I don't either. I don't
it could just be a shadow.
That was just a
Yeah.
place.
Anything you want to tell us about this?
Well, I just was outside. It was a beautiful day, and the clouds were moving, and I thought they were nice. I just try to loosen up a little bit. Sometimes when I don't paint a little every day, I do something that to loosen me up, to try and get me to to go.
Okay. All right. We did a good job with that one. And then
Oh,
we
that's
have,
pretty. I like
Oh,
those
that's a
colors. Colorful.
And that's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like this piece too.
That's like
Um,
from an airplane, you know, down on the ground.
no, okay. So yeah, I don't quite get the scale of you being high up in the air. And the reason I guess I don't really get that is the size of these trees back here. I would have thought that they would have been much smaller.
Well, if your plane's coming in for a landing,
Yeah.
this is kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, if you were landing, you know, you might be down kind of around that level.
Around when it's out to get the right way to land.
Yeah. The one thing I would kind of, I guess, comment on or caution you on is you have these clouds and everything seems to be moving kind of diagonally, you know, forward, you know, from the background to the foreground. But what you've done here is you've kind of made like, you know, a series of like repetitive shapes that are kind of similar and kind of similar sizes and things. And I would kind of encourage you, if I were going to do that, you know, I would say make one or two of them more dominant and then the other two, you know, smaller, less important. And don't follow that same shape back there because again, it gets to be this sort of pattern. Okay. So you can break up those shapes a little bit more and it would have been a more interesting composition up in that area. Okay.
Right.
Anybody got any comments before we move on? No. All right, lady, where are you? Lady, are you here? I
don't see her.
Yeah, I don't see her. Maybe she didn't make it this afternoon. Okay. All right. We'll talk about her when she's around. Okay. Naomi, you're here, right?
I'm here.
Yep. Okay. So I see you did an elephant.
I tried.
Yep. So it kind of reminds me of that piece I showed you from the Russian artist.
Yeah, I was trying to push the values kind of.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So I want you to squint your eye down. Okay. And I think that your value, say like on the elephant itself, like right in here, works pretty well. Okay. I guess the thing I would have kind of encouraged you to do differently was that you see when you get into your background area, you could have softened that color up quite a bit.
Oh, I should have softened it even more.
Yeah, because again, squint your eye down. You got pretty good contrast here on the elephant, but when you get back here, the values begin to get somewhat similar. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the background should have been darker? Is that what you're saying,
No,
Charles?
lighter.
No, lighter. Yeah.
Lighter.
Yeah.
I thought it was light, but yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I would have lightened that up a little bit. You know, well, back here. You know, I think you're fine on the elephant. And in fact, you probably could have pushed the value down and made it even darker, you know, along this side of the elephant. And that would have given you more contrast and pushed it forward more. But yeah, in here, your colors got fairly similar. And then the value range is still kind of in the range of a lot of the elephant. So I would have kind of tried to keep that lighter, I guess. Either lighter or much darker, one of the two. But yeah, it's all kind of close to, you know, middle value right now. Then you did a nude. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this.
No, I just copied a little something, but I made it all in blue.
Okay. And were you using like a photo reference?
Watercolor.
Yeah, but were you looking at something like a photo reference for this, or is this?
Yeah, a reference, a painting.
Oh, a painting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
But I think it was in black and white. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Then you've got a portrait. Okay.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's got a nice feel to it.
That too.
Yeah. Now, I got a question for you though, Naomi,
Okay.
because we've talked kind of about this. When you put hats on people, okay?
Yeah.
You kind of got to think about where does the head go, right? And what's the shape of the head underneath the hat, okay? And what you did here is you made the hat, you know, the upper part of the hat, way too big. to fit on
Yes.
her head.
Yeah.
So you probably could have ended it about right there.
I know, but with watercolor, it was too late.
Too late?
In watercolor, in acrylic, I could have, I realized that, but I couldn't get rid of the big hat once I, see what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the problem with watercolor.
You couldn't have just taken water, wet that area, and then, you know,
Oh, okay.
blotted it out a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and then drop some blue in there.
Mm.
You probably could have gotten away with, you know, getting that shape in there. But anyway, just be aware of that. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I realized that. The
Yeah.
top of the hat was.
yeah,
And
it's
you
just,
see, in acrylic, I would just go right over it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, their head has to fit into the hat. Okay.
Mm.
So, and then this is Olga. Olga, are you here today?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she's been doing some interesting.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Young play over here and the singer over there.
yeah, I don't see her here today, but she had sent in a piece that she had done on Friday. And we looked at it briefly, but she had sent these to me, and I wanted to show them to all of you. And she's been, you know, she's been kind of creating these paintings, and she's not really going for like photographic realism. You know, they're kind of graphic, kind of simplified, and they tend to be, you know, kind of about, like, I think she said like New Orleans or something like that. I think she kind of came from that area. But, you know, obviously, you know, this has something to do with music and dance and, you know, entertainment. And, you know, it's an interesting kind of story, you know, to this. And she kind of plays with the sizes of her figures. And they're not all sort of sitting in perspective with each other. You know, and then, you know, she kind of exaggerates the movement of the forms, you know, a little bit. So there's a lot of nice stuff there to look at, and try to figure out. This is another one of hers. And again, you know, it has to do with music and dance, things like that. Excuse me while I... Okay. Anyway, we'll wait till she's back, and hopefully.
I really like that one.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
there-
do too. I
yeah,
do
there's
too.
It's a party.
Swirling dress and the pants, you know, a lot of movement.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things going on there, you
Mhm.
know, and I'd like her to kind of tell us a little bit about it, what kind of inspired her to do it. This is Richard. Okay, Richard was doing some figs, And Richard, you were here earlier.
I'm here.
Good. Okay. You did a good job on these.
The top one is oil and the bottom is acrylic.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I consider it to be pretty much a failure.
Really?
But I keep trying.
Huh. Wow. I think you need to look at like Cezanne a little bit.
I mean, hell, they don't look like figs to me.
They don't?
No.
Wow.
Maybe in the bottom.
Yeah.
The one on the top right looks just like a fig.
Uh-huh.
I want to eat that one.
Yeah. This right here.
Yeah, that one.
Right. But the fact is, I think you get the idea that they're figs sitting on a plate. But like I said, if you go back and you look at Cezanne's work, it's kind of similar to, like some of his still lifes that he did. And, just looking at those, I think you'd learn a lot. He painted a lot of apples and fruit and, different like plates and stuff. And again, was really interpretive with color. But if you look at his work, spend a little time kind of looking at it, you might get some ideas as to how to, accomplish that and get a little more contrast and stuff in it. But, I think, you did a really nice job. That was a good attempt. Between the two of them, I kind of like the acrylic one on the bottom, the best.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I think you were able to manage the media and get it to do what you wanted to do a little more here than with the oil. Oil, the beauty is that it's wet and you can move it around, and then, you can also, mess things up by keeping on messing with them because they're wet and you can move them around too. So, it can either work for or against you. At a certain point with oil, you need to kind of have a very light and a delicate touch to it. Where acrylics, I think you can get away with, not being as subtle with it. Okay. Then we have Wanda.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
You always know.
Oh, I like it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the second of Wanda's pieces that we're talking about today. So tell us a little bit about this. I mean, obviously it looks like, a dancer of some sort.
Yes, I was looking at some photos of Alvin Haley dancers, and I saw this pose, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to have the background as it is and have the pose just in solid black. But as I was doing it, I said, no, it needs something else. And so I just started adding on, and then voila, this is what I got. All the colors in the background. No, that's acrylic paint.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, the background is metallic acrylic paint.
Okay.
And then the rest of it on the figurine itself is metallic acrylic.
Okay.
So is the hair paint also?
Yep, that's paint too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be having a feather look to it.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Her
you.
thigh right here, the lower thigh right here.
Mm-hmm.
Usually dancers' thighs are not that big, but I love her legs and her feet pointed just like dancers' feet.
Oh yeah. It
Good
was
shape
fun
to
to
her
do.
leg.
Well, it's got kind of an African dance feel to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And the patterns, and the textures that you put on it are kind of reminiscent of that too. But
It took a lot of work.
yeah, how big is this piece?
This is I think it's a 11 by, what is that?
11 by 14.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
So kind of a
Wanda, is she
kind of a small
airborne?
to medium-sized piece.
What did you
Right.
ask me?
Wanda, is she airborne?
Yes, because she's supposed to be the sun goddess.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Right. So, are you gonna do any more to her?
No, because I was trying to leave the blackness there. I wanted that there.
Mhm.
So the rest of it, I just filled that in. I was going to try and use some fabric, but I said, nope, let's paint this and see how it comes out.
Mhm.
All right.
It looks like fabric from here.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I thought you had did your yarn work on it.
No, I didn't do that. I had done the background first, and then I drew the picture on like a heavy thickness of paper, and then I cut it out.
Oh, okay.
And then I laid it on the picture, and I went over it so that I wouldn't have to be doing any erasing on the
Right,
background or
right,
something, making mistakes. So I did it like that. So it was just really just the head, not the feathers, just the head and the arms and legs and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it.
Mhm.
I love colors.
And you said that you were working with like metallic and pearlescent colors, I guess.
Metallic acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
The orange and the blues, and there's silver in there. And on her body, there's the blues and the gold and copper
Mm-hmm.
and reds and yellows. They were all metallic.
Mhm.
All right. Those are working pretty well for you. I like the piece, and I like that it shows a lot of kind of
it's
action
beautiful.
and movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had any kind of suggestive comment to you, I guess the
Okay.
thing I would say is that when it got back to putting the color, back here in the background,
Okay.
particularly like these kind of rays of light and stuff,
Mhm.
I would have tried to kind of make them softer.
Oh, okay.
Because the edges to these are real crisp, and because they sort of, they kind of look like they're more part of her
Yeah.
than they are kind of the atmosphere around her.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
You mean like the ones that are on the bottom? The ones
Yeah,
that
like
are soft?
like this one and here, I mean, if she could have just blended and softened those out just a little bit,
Mhm.
then the figure would have popped forward
Yeah.
and kind of away from them a little bit more. The color would have still been there, but it would
Okay.
have softened it a little, giving it
Okay.
a little bit more contrast.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, especially since she's airborne.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, you want it to look like that's what she is. Mhm.
How long did it take you to do that?
Beautiful.
I'm gonna say about maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Oh, not bad.
Because I had done the background, I let that sit out, and I wanted it to dry completely because I didn't know what it would be like painting on top of metallic.
Mhm.
And then like I said, I drew the picture, I cut it out, and then I put it on there and traced it, and then took it off and colored it, from there.
Mhm.
All right. So you
So now
basically you didn't like collage your drawing down to the piece. You just used it, traced over it to leave, basically a pattern, and then
Yes.
painted directly on the same piece of paper that the background is on, right?
Yeah, same canvas.
Okay. All
Because
right.
I didn't want to be trying to draw it and then erasing and
Mhm.
trying to get this. I didn't want to do that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But I'll try, and I'm not sure if I guess I could. You say lighten up the orange metallic pieces, you're saying?
Not so much
Streaks?
lighten as soften.
Oh, soften.
Yeah, just
Like how,
soften.
Charles? What do you mean?
Like a burst.
Well, you would take a little bit of that color,
Okay.
right, and maybe thin it down with a little bit of water, and then
okay.
lay the paint down. Then with a clean brush, just go back along the edges and blend it and soften it so that it's not such a hard edge.
Like you do
Okay.
with clouds, you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, kind of, so you could kind of get it like this, where it's just a soft edge rather than a real hard edge.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll work on that.
Yeah, and the softer you can make it, the better. 'Cause,
Okay.
yeah, the more it's soft, it will kind of sit back, and she'll pop out without anything really competing with her.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. So that's it. You know, we could talk about Wanda's bird one more time.
Please don't.
Yeah, but we've already done that.
Yeah.
And it's already 3:40. So
Wow.
man, you know, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Okay.
does.
All right. So anybody got anything they need to talk about before we go away? No. Okay.
No, I'm going to try an abstract though.
Okay. Good. The only thing
Get my abstract. Did you get my abstract?
I did.
Latimer.
No, I have not. When did you send it?
Friday.
I don't remember getting an abstract from you, or well, let me go back and look. Yeah, I don't remember one right offhand.
Yeah, I sent you about 5 things.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back and look again.
Okay.
But yeah, and if not, I'll send you an email and I'll have you resend them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, and we'll talk about them Wednesday. Are they're paintings or what are they?
One is mixed, 2 are mixed media.
Mhm.
One is the abstract is a painting, acrylic painting.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that falls into the purview of Wednesday.
A couple other things, yeah. Okay.
All painting and mixed media, so that's fine. Okay. Again, if any of you were not here this morning, just to let you know, classes are going to go up to the 18th, right? Which is a Friday, and that will be the last class we'll have really until I think they said somewhere around the 18th of January. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm going to be tied up doing the elections.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So just be aware of that, so that they kind of cut our time a little bit short on us.
And at the 18th is Martin Luther King's,
Is it?
Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Oh, okay. Well, it won't. Okay, so it won't be. It will be the Friday before that. So what is that? Like the 15th, I guess?
Yeah, 15th.
Okay, so yeah, it will be, the last class will be on the 15th, which is not far away, since today is, today is.
Oh, no, that's January. You said it starts back on January the 18th, but that's a holiday, I think.
Yeah, so it will be, I guess, that Wednesday we'll have.
At 19, yeah, 19th or
Okay.
20th.
Yeah,
Oh, 20th, Wednesday. Okay.
yeah, but the 18th is like a Friday this month, right? Yes,
Yes, this Friday coming.
it's this Friday. Okay.
Yes.
And then we won't see each other for a little while because, like I said, I'll be tied up with elections, unfortunately. But,
You'll be
it is
missed.
what it is. Okay. So anyway, I guess send me some work.
Look like Robert went to sleep on us.
Pardon?
Robert went to sleep on us.
Did he? Well, he's had a hard day. He had
Yeah.
he had his eye. He had surgery done on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, send me some stuff, and I guess we'll see you Wednesday morning at about
challenge thing.
10 o'clock. Okay.
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 All right.
Bye, Charles.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Charles.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Charles.
Thanks, Charles.
See you.